Hey guys, welcome back to Team Death Slinger. My name is Peter, and today we're going to look at the 10 best board breakers in the Digimon card game. Just like in the 10 best finishers video, this is going to be a little bit subjective. I think any of the positions of these cards could move up or down one or two places, but these are my top 10 cards for breaking the board in the card game. So we're going to start with the definition on what is a board breaker. A board breaker in this video is going to strictly be defined as a card that effectively answers a majority of the opponent's board and leaves them in a rebuilding phase instead of moving towards winning the game. We're going to consider generic playability and multi-target removal more heavily in this list than other effects, kind of like Quartzmon freezing down the opponent's board, stopping them from unsuspending. I'm not counting that as a board breaker because you can still use the resources on your board. Cards like Hexablaumon that strip sources but still leave Digimon on the board, I'm not counting it as a board breaker. There's still things for you to interact with, and it's not actually removing much from the board. So we're looking kind of strictly at like wide target removal in this list. So starting with number 10, I have EX5 Leviamon. This card, the purple Leviamon cards in general, really crazy, lots of removal. So this is going to remove a tamer and multiple threats at the highest and lowest level as long as you're behind. You're basically 3-for-1ing with this card, and it has Sec +1, which applies some immediate pressure, which is just a lot of upside for evoing into this card. It gains you memory back, so you're probably not paying 5 for the evo, you're probably paying 3 or 4, and it's kind of limited to just purple, so we're not super generic here. That's why this is so low on the list. If this was a multicolored card, it would definitely be higher, but just one color means we're not incredibly generic, but we are a really effective breaker, so I'm putting it on the list for that reason. Although there's other cards I think you could argue go in this slot, I just think Leviamon is way too good not to have on the list somewhere, so there it is at 10. Number 9, I have the new BT20 DeathXmon. It has an end of turn attempt to wipe all of the lowest level Digimon. The opponent has to out this or build a board resilient to the double wipe. So basically, if the opponent doesn't have a way to get many levels of Digimon on the board, this is just going to annihilate their board while also breaking down what you've got going on as well. So if you have level 3, the opponent has a level 4, the level 3 is going to get popped before the level 4 is. So there's kind of a little bit of strategy that goes around this card. The keyword soup makes this card apply offensive pressure as well as walling really effectively. We have Sec +1 reboot blocker, so you're always swinging in with this to get your 2 checks, and then it's reboot blocking on the opponent's turn. So you're basically getting a 2 free checks while you're building up a board and trying to make sure that there are other things to be deleted. This is limited to just purple, so again, another card that is locked to one color, although I think it is better in terms of a breaker as Leviamon. The protection also only works within the tribe. If nobody sets up anything, this card can do more damage to your board than the opponent. So there are some downsides to this card that make it kind of bad as well as good. For number 8, I have Fenri Loogamon Takamikazuchi Ace. This card gives -10k to 2 Digimon, and it requires a Mind Link Tamer to pop an additional body. So both 2 Digimon that you select get -10k, and if you have the Tamer card in the source, you delete a 10k or lower Digimon. When attacking, you get to do it again, which is really great, but the blast effect is limited to a DNA effect. It's a 6-cost evo otherwise, but the card requires more support than some of the other options in this list to be effective. So you need the Mind Link Tamer kind of built around this, and if you want the DNA effect, you do have to be running the level 6 Takamika package. The high roll of an evo into a swing with Mind Link in the same turn is really gross though. You get to -10k 2 targets, pop a 10k or lower, and then do it again as long as you can evo and swing in the same turn. That high roll alone, it kind of bumps this up on the list for me up to number 8, whereas otherwise I feel like it'd be really kind of lackluster, just -10, and then pop a 10k. But the high roll is just really good here. Number 7, I have Heaven's Judgment from EX4. This works as long as you have a green card in play. That's kind of what this card really has going for it. If you're playing this card, you're probably giving out -18k minimum. You want to be playing this if you have 3 or more colors, and you can definitely get more than 18k, but I feel like that is the floor for what you're running this card for. It offers multi-target removal in 6k increments, so you don't have to dole out the -DP effect to one target, which is really strong. And this is a 7 cost, which is technically a downside, but it's probably going to be lower if you hit an ace, and you're probably going to be hitting an ace in today's gameplay climate. It does require multicolored Digimon on board to be effective, so if you are completely behind and you don't have any multicolored Digimon on board, this is kind of a dead card in your hand, but the effect itself is really, really powerful. So it's kind of limited, which is why it's lower on this list than it could be. Number 6, I have the original BT9 DeathXmon. The cost reduction on this card means it slots into any deck really effectively. You can run this in any color you want, and it does have application in any deck you could run it in. The D-Digivolve can hit Blast Aces, which makes the play cost even cheaper than it would be just with the cost reduction. The end of turn deletion forces the opponent to waste memory on a body or out the card. If you can evo and pop this, then you will. But if you can't, then it's going to force you to drop like a level 3 or something to make sure that your bodies don't get deleted. This also answers some board states really well and fails to answer some at all. So there are some board states where you can plop this down and you're just going to wipe your opponent's board. But there's also board states where if the opponent's winning really, really hard, they're really wide, they have multiple level 6s on board, you're going to plop this down, it's going to de-Digivolve things. but they're still going to be left with 2 or more level 5s on the board, and this doesn't really help you claw your way back in that sense. So that is why it's number 6 on the list. Number 5, this is going to be controversial for some people, but I have ShineGreymon Ruin Mode. This applies the minus 5k effect that can lock out the opponent because that effect carries into their turn. But if you can Evo and swing, deleting a body will almost certainly guarantee a lock. You are probably Evoing into this, and if you can swing, the opponent gets nothing on their board and they're minus 5k on their turn. They're going to be stuck rebuilding. The recovery and the egg is a nice bonus, but in a vacuum, Evo and pass does not answer a lot of boards. If you Evo into this and you can't swing, you're just applying minus 5k. And that does not break your opponent's board. It does make them smaller on their turn. They have to be careful, but you're not really removing resources, and you're certainly not breaking their board. Without a way to keep turn on Evo, the card can sometimes lean into win harder instead of board breaker, which I think is important to consider in this video. Is the effect of the card in a vacuum. It's not really breaking unless you can swing. Number 4, the new Vorvomon Ace from BT20. This is an 8-cost hard play, which means you could run this generically to hard play. So you could either Ace on a level 5 or the play cost 10 or higher Vortex Warrior trait, or you just plop this down for 8. The on play means you're guaranteed to remove 1 body, because there would be 2 Digimon in play. If your opponent has something, you have this, you get to suspend something, and then bottom deck their 1 body. And it scales the farther ahead your opponent is. So the more Digimon they have, the more things you get to return for every 2 suspended Digimon. So there is some high roll potential to this card. You have the potential to ruin wide boards or effectively out sticky threats with Vortex. So if something has some kind of effect deletion protection, you can still plop this down and Vortex into it as long as you can get over it. And that's a way to get around a lot of protection effects in the game right now. The Ace potential is especially scary because you can Evo this on a Medieval Gallant because there's a play cost 10 or higher level 6 with the Vortex Warrior trait. So if you are already running the MedievalGallantmon as a breaker in your deck, you can just Ace this on top, which makes it especially gross to consider. Number 3, I have BoltBoutamon. I really like this card. If you've seen my profiles, you know I run it quite a bit. It's Digivolve 3 plus minus 6k DP to the entire board means you're likely wiping an entire board unless the opponent has multiple mega level Digimon. The Digivolve 3 makes 1 body guaranteed to be small enough that minus 6k will pop it. Trashing a security is a nice bonus, and in a vacuum, it trades the long-term lockout potential from Ruin Mode for more immediate removal. So you're trading the ability to lock somebody out for the ability to just completely out 1 threat without having to swing, and then minus 6k their whole board. The 3-color Evo also means this is a relatively versatile card. You can run it in half the colors in the game, which is really great. It's just a fantastic level 7 all around, and I like it a lot for what it can do. Number 2, I have Omnimon X-antibody from BT20. We talked about this in the finishers video. I think it is an excellent finisher, but it is also a fantastic board breaker. Wipes everything but 1 card on both players' boards. It gives end of turn attack trigger with raid to finish off whatever sticks on board. With raid and 16k, you're probably swinging over whatever's left on your opponent's board. It has blocker in case something has protection and you cannot get around it. And the most board wipe card we have ever had at the moment is this card. It literally selects everything but 1 Digimon on both players' boards and deletes everything else. It does require X-antibody to get the effect, which is a downside, and the 6-cost Evo is expensive, but you are basically guaranteeing that you're going to leave 1 body on both players' boards, and you're going to raid over that, and hopefully be in a position to win the game afterwards. My number 1 pick, MedievalGallantmon from EX8. We all know it. It's disgusting. It is splashable in every deck due to cost reduction effects. The Vortex Alliance while suspending opponent's Digimon means you are removing at least 1 body, and the on-play deletion will delete another body. The 7 cost to remove 2 bodies is a great rate, and it continues to net you value the longer this card sticks. It is just continually accruing value. Removing something via DP threshold and via Alliance Vortex attack gets over most protection effects. You have coverage for most ways to protect yourself from removal in the game by being able to delete via DP threshold and be able to swing over things. So this card just kind of gets over just about everything in the game as long as you have another body to alliance with. So that's why I have this at number 1. It's just so generic and it gets over so many things for what it does. So that is my list of top 10 board breakers in the Digimon card game. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Comment what your number 1 pick would be. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Thank you to our channel members for supporting this channel. It's people like Langlong, Big Z11, Coffee Deus, and DigiDane who make videos like this possible.